What is going on, guys? It is me, DevilNeverCry, and I'm back again with some more DMC5 coverage. Now, I know Gamescom at this point is pretty much over, but there's still information that's trickling out about this game, especially considering a lot of people in the community have a really sharp eye. So today's video is going to be focused on the Blue Rose, Nero's very popular, very iconic hand cannon, which was his only firearm in DMC4 for those of you who don't know. I specifically want to talk about the changes they have made in DMC5. But before that, we have to get into how the gun actually worked in DMC4. So, for those of you who don't know, in DMC4, the Blue Rose acted very much like Dante's Ebony and Ivory. It didn't really act like a revolver much at all. It fired as fast as you could press the button or pull the trigger. It didn't really pack a lot of punch. Well, going forward, they've changed that in DMC5. It's now very slow, very methodical to shoot, but as a trade-off it does pack a lot more power behind it. And that's not the only change they've made. You'll be glad to know that the charge shot system has been upgraded and revamped as well. So in DMC4, if you wanted to use a charge shot, you'd have to press and hold the shoot button down and it would charge up. As long as you held the button down, it would charge up and then be stored. The longer you held it, the more powerful it got, with the third level of charge adding a delayed explosion onto the end of the attack. While it was a major way to output damage, it sort of limited you because you'd have to hold that button down. And obviously people got around that, myself included, by just reassigning the shoot button to a trigger. That way you could still use all the other face buttons and charge up the gun at the same time. Now, I didn't really have much of a problem with it, other than the fact that it kind of get annoying having to hold it for so long, but I know a lot of people had issues with their hands beginning to cramp and seize up, so obviously it wasn't viable moving forwards. But if you look at DMC5's menu, it does confirm here that they have changed it completely. Now, if we take a look at the UI here, we can see underneath Nero's health bar these three little slots. Now, if you're a seasoned DMC player, you'd likely think that this is assigned or attributed to the Devil Trigger system in some way, but it's not. And it's also not attributed to the Devil Breaker system either. Instead, it's tied to the Blue Rose. And if we take a look at the menu here, it simply explains exactly how it works. Now, the skill's named Color Up, and it literally states that you have to press and hold the shoot button, and you get that little animation of Nero throwing in a couple cartridges into his revolver, and then the three lamps underneath the health bar light up, indicating that you've got some 3 charge shots stored. Pretty much confirming that you no longer have to hold the button now if you want to charge up a shot, so all those people who had issues with their hands playing the game, you guys can rejoice, because that's now no longer an issue. And it's a change that makes sense ergonomically, because if you want players to be playing this for quite a long time, you don't want them to have to stop because their hands are hurting. But that's not the only change they've made to the charge shot system. If you cast your minds way back to an interview that was held roughly a month ago, they sort of detailed that the Blue Rose uses a multitude of ammo. That's tied now to the fact that you can use different types of charge shots. So in the demo, for example, we have a charge shot that is very similar to Virgil's Summoned Swords. So you charge up a shot, and then you'd let loose, and you'd get 3 very rapid fire consecutive shots hitting an enemy, sort of stunning them in place. So it's a neat little trick, not really used that much for damage output, but more for setup, if you want to keep an enemy suspended in the air or busy whilst you streak over, for example, or something like that. It's just another layer to add to the gameplay. Now, we don't know what the other type of charge shots are going to be, but I'm betting that there's going to be one that's very reminiscent to DMC4. And by that I mean one that, bounces enemies off the ground or has some sort of explosion tied onto it. And that's pretty much all we know for now. Obviously, looking at the Blue Rose in this new engine, it definitely got an overhaul and a revamp in design, as did the Red Queen, but that makes sense considering if you compare the Blue Rose from 4 and 5, 4 does look rather comical, and it would look out of place if they kept the design pretty much exactly the same. So I'm going to leave off there for now. What do you guys think about the changes they've made to the Blue Rose? I think it's an interesting change. It's one that makes sense. I'm excited to try it out, especially considering it's just another layer they've added to Nero's gameplay. So it's been me, DevilNeverCry. I want to thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next video.